This is a podcast or something like that. Hey, how's it going? Good to be back on the pod. Today it is Sunday again around noon. This is when I've been doing all the pods. I really like that it's like a Sunday vibe. It's actually hard to imagine recording it on a different day. And there have been times where it would have made sense to record it on a different day. For instance, this week when I am sick. I am currently sick. I don't mean like sick, man. I mean like, I'm like infected with some sort of, I don't know what it is. But you can hear it a little bit. I definitely started coming down with something on Friday, 2 days ago. Not in the morning. I think like in the middle of the day. I think I felt a little bit off in the morning. Just like the slightest bit of like did I like, eat something weird or like why am I? But then it like went away. And then in the night before I went out to a show, I've been like, looking forward to seeing a friend do some music and like a bunch of friends were going to be there. And I was starting to come down with something, but I went. I wore a mask. But I went. I don't know if that's bad. I mean, I guess I don't know. I did it, so I'm not gonna like pretend that I think it was wrong. I don't. I did it 2 days ago. I don't go around doing things I think are wrong nowadays. So I did have a great time, and I'm not going to guess whether I got people sick. The ethics of it are really tough. I mean, if you've watched a bunch of the videos on this channel, you know that I took COVID really seriously when it started. I have one of my first videos is about whether kids are dying from COVID, which they were, and I'm sure they will be and are. Because that's just a harsh fact, and I like facing harsh facts because I feel like it makes me more in touch with reality. I also did the 2.5 hour video or whatever about Donald Trump's press conferences about COVID, which was interesting to me from a psychological standpoint. Oh, fuck. He says standpoint all the time, and I called it out in that video, and I did actually pick it up. I don't know if you heard that beeping in the background. My coffee's done. I'm drinking iced coffee I made yesterday, and I made new coffee because, I think I might want a second cup. Anyways, point is, this is what journaling is like. This is why we call it the verbal journal. But no, I did take COVID very seriously, and I've just totally lightened up a lot, and it's a little bit of a strange feeling. Because I know that, isn't it still technically a pandemic, let alone technically an epidemic? I mean, it's still clearly a huge problem. I've had both my booster vaccines and stuff, but some people are immunocompromised and can't get vaccines. Some people are immunocompromised, so even with the benefit of the vaccine, they're going to suffer a lot more. Some people have pre-existing conditions, that are not their fault, if it needs to be said. And then my friend has their show that they put on, and it's like, there's like 50 to 100 people. I mean, I don't know, probably 60 people or something. I don't know. I'm bad with that. No, that reminded me of another video I have, the Steven Crowder one, where he mentions the video is all about how you shouldn't trust the numbers with the polling before the 2020 election because they were saying Trump was going to lose, but he was telling his audience don't worry about that. And they had just put on like an anti-Governor Whitmer rally in Michigan, and it was like sort of like a COVID related rally, but it wasn't like let us wear our masks. It let us not wear our masks. Like it was weird. I didn't look fully into it, but my impression was it was like an anti-masker type of vibe, but the rally itself was about blaming Governor Whitmer for the death. And you saw that in New York too, I believe, because what's his name? Cuomo was actually he was doing a good job and a bad job, because so people who supported him could look at the good job. People who didn't support him could look at the bad job. And I'm not trying to both sides it. I'm just saying these issues are so complicated. So you get situations where like people could be against government mitigation efforts for a pandemic and still criticizing the government for not doing enough. And then like in the next conversation, criticize the government for doing too much. I don't know. Maybe I'm making this up. But the point is, I was always a supporter of the government doing whatever would reasonably limit premature death, because to me, limiting premature death is more important than most like day-to-day freedoms, like not having to wear a mask. Like even like the biggest thing was, and we have a lot of other things to talk about. This is not this is not what I plan to talk about at all. But the biggest thing for me was like the, interstate travel, and then intercountry travel. But I don't know that we have international organizations that can limit that. I mean, you did have and still do have, I believe, countries, limiting immigration based on the COVID related reasons and stuff. But interstate travel, like, I mean, it was very easy for me to say, as someone who does not rely on interstate travel for my livelihood at all, to say, hey, it's a reasonable, limitation. But keep in mind, like, I believe that for every limitation that negatively impacted someone, like they needed to be compensated. Like, I believe that's how it has to work. I don't know. I'm not a politician or whatever, but like, doesn't the government just subsidize shit all the time? Like, the government just like pays for stuff all the time, and that's us paying for stuff. So like, wouldn't we want to spend our money instead of like maybe like 200 new like $70 million like fighter jets? Like, couldn't we spend that same amount of money like supporting all the businesses who like needed support? And obviously we had the what was it called, the PPP loans or whatever. I don't even remember what it stands for. Did it stand for anything, or was it just a PPP? But obviously there was a ton of fraud that was committed there. Extremely wealthy people and businesses getting huge bailouts, and it's an absolute catastrophe. I mean, that's the one thing that like could be done immediately that would make a huge difference, is just getting some of the money out of politics. I mean, it really doesn't have to be as bad as it is in the U.S. Because obviously the politicians have these like backroom deals with all the corporations. They, they leave the government, they work for the corporations, they go back to the government. It's one big thing. So it's, they all, I scratch your back, you scratch mine, and it's a fucking nightmare. And we need to actually like change things. And I want to be more politically active, socially active. That's something I definitely am striving for this year. And so, yeah, part of that is going to a show on a Friday night. No, I'm just kidding. I could have almost pulled that off as like a serious thing if I wanted to. No, I mean, for my own mental health, I need to do more to like make social connections, just regardless of any sort of political activism or anything. And so, but doing political activism is also good for my mental health too, because it's a really good outlet for energy. Anyways, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling, even though I'm sick, the worst thing was last night falling asleep. I have not had like a hard time falling asleep like that in quite a long time. I was up until 4 a.m. legitimately. I didn't actually get into bed until 2 a.m. and that's fully on me. But for some reason, I just had like a phlegm situation. And if you don't know about phlegm, it's spelled PHLEGM. So it's a very cool word. But I had a phlegm situation where it wasn't like overwhelming, but it was just enough where I felt like I had to constantly keep swallowing. And that's probably on me too. I was like, is this a mental health thing? Like, do I actually need to keep swallowing? Or do I just feel like almost like a Gus Fring or like Chuck McGill-esque like obsessiveness? I'm like, I need my mouth to not have phlegm, like so I can go to sleep. It just didn't feel right. I don't know. My mouth and my sinuses. It's not really my mouth. It's like the roof of your mouth. Anyways, I'm feeling like good, especially because wow, we've already done 10 minutes of the podcast. Or no, 9 minutes or 10 about. I'm feeling good because even though I'm sick, I did do what I needed to do, which was I got up and I emailed clients I'm meeting with tomorrow, and I said, "Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't say I'm sorry, but professional communication. I was like, hey, unfortunately, I've come down with a cold and sore throat over the weekend, and I'll have to, um, I'll have to reschedule our appointment tomorrow, and I have times available to meet other times in the week. I have to know everybody's schedule and work schedule, but you sort of get a hang of it for a while or after a while. But I offer a few times, or I don't if I know that they won't have any other times, and then I'm like, oh, we can meet next week or something. So it feels really, really good. I mean, I'm self-employed, so that is one huge benefit. It's a little bit inconvenient having to reach out to all my clients independently. Like, I'm not complaining because it's really amazing to have any control over my schedule. It's really fucking amazing. I've worked at jobs where it would be a pain in the ass to get sick days, or it felt like one. But I did I did do that because I don't know, you have to do it for your own good. I mean, I'm not gonna do a super long podcast because I don't want to just like talk out my voice, but I am feeling like it's going in the right direction. I also need to make sure I test myself for COVID and I don't go sit in an office with someone tomorrow because, that's just, best practice. But yeah, I mean, like that was something. So I didn't work in person until October of this past year. So for literally over 2.5 years, I worked fully over teleconference. It's actually like interesting to me. It would become so like normal that I would forget that it was weird to other people. And I would like talk to a friend, or even I remember I was streaming one time and people were like, wait, you work over teleconference? And I was like, yeah. But I know I probably should have done more to try to make it happen in person. It was a tough situation for me, not just because I was worried about getting COVID, but I really, until the vaccines were out, I felt it was like unethical to expose my clients. I do work with some people who are older or immunocompromised, and it's I don't know, it's just a weird ethical conundrum, and being the professional in the situation feels like it added responsibility. But I think I did handle it in a relatively like a slightly too extreme way. And so, well, next time there's a pandemic, I'm going to do a better job of that for sure. No, but I do have an office now, and it's been, so what? It's almost March. I've had an office now. Well, I didn't really work much in person until like the second half of October. So yeah, 4 months. It's been really nice, and I'm coming up on a year of having my own business, being my own business, and that's very awesome. To do. I don't make a ton of money. That's actually something I've been working on, which has been going really well. Just because I wasn't working in person, I felt weird adding clients. Like I added some clients over the pandemic, just people who had been referred to me by someone else, or some other way. I just maybe reconnected with previous clients. That also happened a bunch, but I had a few new clients, but I felt weird putting myself out there and like, hey, new clients, I'm your guy, and I like don't offer in person. It just felt wrong. So, something about it. So now that I do offer in person, I've added a bunch of new clients, and I've had to because my small amount of savings that's been sort of keeping me afloat, really small, I'm not trying to say it's a lot of money, has definitely gone to almost nothing. So it's like I'm actually having to like make sure I right the ship here financially. I don't know, it's just it's a project. I definitely grew up with like privilege in the sense that like I didn't worry about money growing up as a kid. My family had money because my dad had a good job where they paid him. He's told me, he's like, they paid me more than like they should have based on the work I was doing. which is true of a lot of jobs. There's like, I think they call them like super profits in a sense, like a company that makes so much money off of companies that make so much money off of companies that make so much money. Or it's like, it's just that, I don't know, the profit, like, yeah, well, I don't know what I'm trying to say. But anyways, so I did grow up like in a nice house with like a yard and stuff, and we would like go on vacations and blah, blah, blah. And even in college, my parents like supported me. Even after college, if I needed help with something like rent or something, they would definitely support me. They paid for me to go to college and to go to graduate school, which is fucking ridiculous. And my parents are not like super wealthy now, because I also have siblings and they paid for them to go to college. So it's just like that type of privilege is like, I'm so fucking lucky. I have no idea if I would be a therapist if I didn't have that privilege. I have no idea whether I would have willingly gone into tens of thousands of dollars of debt to get a degree in social work, let alone a fucking degree in philosophy. I can guarantee you, actually, I remember how little I wanted to go to college. There is no chance in the world, if I had to pay for it, that I would have gone to college, everything else being the same. I mean, if my life had been different growing up, sure, you grow up without money, you sometimes have more of a desire to strive to get money. So it's possible if I really changed all the facts of the situation and I grew up, with much less privilege, I would have been more motivated to go to college, even pay for it myself. I know a lot of people are, but just given like my actual mind state at the time, I can tell you for sure that if my parents were like, oh yeah, you can pay for it, I would not have gone. And I didn't want to go, but I'm glad I did. I mean, who knows? Maybe it would have been a good decision not to go to college. If you hear something weird, I have like an ice pack. That's my like warm. I don't have a temperature. I've taken my temperature, but I don't have you feel a little warm. But yeah, I didn't want to go to college at all. So, the fact that it was just like a cool place to hang out for 4 years where I could get a degree and like meet a bunch of people, was a big motivator. And, so let's get down to brass tacks here. Was there anything I was in the middle of just saying? Yeah, I guess all I'm trying to say is like, with this privilege that I've grown up with, why was I mentioning the privilege? Oh yeah, my small amount of savings and stuff. Yeah, I mean that's where like I did literally get like some money from like a grandparent when they passed away. Like not a crazy amount, but stuff like that where it's like some people do not have that, obviously, and it was enough to like get me through certain hard times. And again, not a ton of money and it's all gone now, but huge privilege anyways. So I hope it doesn't sound like I'm downplaying all this stuff. I mean, not having student debt and having a master's degree is profoundly privileged. So I really, in a genuine way, try to make the most of it. And I haven't always had this mindset, but because I haven't always been aware of my privilege until shamefully late in my life. But I try to do good with what I was given through no energy of my own. And when I say I didn't understand my privilege until shamefully late in my life, I just want to be clear. I'm not like self-flagellating and like being overly self-critical. I don't feel shame like every moment about it. I just mean, I think it's okay to feel ashamed of things. I think it's okay to regret things, wish things had gone differently. I'm not taking the full blame for it. There were a lot of people who could have helped me understand my privilege better. But I certainly take some of the blame. And yeah, I mean, I think that's healthy. So anyways, let's get down to those brass tacks. We have a lot to talk about today. That was a 20-minute introduction that I did not plan on doing. This is so much fun. Oh yeah, what I did plan on doing is saying last week was super fun. That was great. We had a fantastic conversation, the four of us, and it was super cool. And if you missed it, we talked all about Breaking Bad. We hung out in the Discord. There was some other stuff going on with the podcast too. I think I talked about some other stuff before that. But yeah, we did have a very... Oh, no, I didn't actually, because I was late to start. No, I did. There was like a 10-minute intro. But yeah, there was so we had a fantastic conversation, a lot of really interesting thoughts about Breaking Bad. Oh, hold on. I got a siren going by. I get the best at audio I can for this. I'm not going to go in like the booth for it or something. I'm just chilling. So yeah, I had a great conversation about Breaking Bad, which obviously I've been working to put my notes together, and I've been talking about that on the podcast. I did put my notes. I did start actually writing a script. I believe that was this past week. Don't think I had anything before. So it's really been going well. I'll tell you, it's, I mean, there's a lot to say. So it really does feel that I've almost barely like cracked the surface, and I'm not exaggerating, but I've written 7,000 words. I mean, I didn't even realize it was that much until I just checked. Wait, no, hold on. Some of that is notes. Yeah, it's 11 pages, but the margins are really small. Oh, but the text is slightly big. I'm giving you insight into how I like to look at my scripts. I got Tahoma 13.25 margins on all sides. That's to save paper, motherfucker. Because I do print it. I'm going to go print it tomorrow if I can make it out. Maybe today if I fucking feel like it, to be honest. Yeah, 6,600 words of script and then some notes at the end. The notes come from like either things I had in a file earlier to talk about, like one of them is just differences in mic that I want to make sure I get to, or did watching BCS spoil BB for me? I don't even know if like I sort of already kind of addressed that, but there might be more to say there. And honestly, there really might be more to say there. I don't know. It's hard to tease apart like why I felt the ways I did about the features and characters in Breaking Bad. I had a lot of different thoughts, and as I rewatch parts in writing a script, it's very nice and gives me a good sort of like added flavor for my initial perception. But anyways, I've done a ton of writing, so it's been really good. I didn't do this for like any of the other videos. I was gonna say Breaking Bad videos, but I mean, I guess for the Donald Trump video about his like press conference stuff, I was taking all the notes by hand. But yeah, I took all the notes by hand for the Breaking Bad video. I don't know if I did mention that, right? Because I mentioned typing them all up. But I've also been now writing the script by hand, and then I just type it into the computer. And the reason I do that is sort of just like it just feels nice. I just like sit down with a piece of paper. I've just been using blank printer paper too. Like you don't even need lines, you know what I mean? And like the process of composing a sentence and a paragraph and a page, it feels very different really on by hand, because it's like you're not trying to be done already. You're really in the creative stage. When you're on the computer, it feels like you're in the creative. Well, you're in the creative and the editing stage, and it feels like you're almost trying to be in the finalizing stage. But you do also a lot of editing when you're writing by hand. I mean, these pages I have tons of things crossed out and arrows drawn and this and that. So it's really fun to then type it up and see it already in the like edited sort of good version. But anyways, so I do that. And then there were whole segments where I'm like, oh no, that was a nice little thread I went on, but I don't know if that's going to be relevant. So I'll put that at the bottom in the sort of notes section, or I think of it like the tail almost. I have a page or two of just isolated different paragraphs at the end. One, a link to a study that shows that 45,000 Americans every year die from causes associated with lack of health insurance. And that was something I almost brought up at one point when talking about Walter's situation. He does have health insurance, but it was just going to be relevant to like the point of like he's lucky that he even had that option of like Gretchen and Elliot. Not that's not the best way to put it, but I'm like making the point of like like, I'm not saying like, oh, he should be grateful. Like, that's a separate conversation. I just mean like, in his situation, like, it's understandable why someone would be like completely overwhelmed. And so I just talk about like how he responds to that in his own unique way. But I was just trying to show empathy, I guess, for the situation. But I don't know if I'm gonna need that exact point. So yeah, I'm really, really just in the creative stage. There's all this writing, 6,600 words, but a lot of it might not make it into the script, and I'll save it for a separate thing or something. But I came up with some interesting, funny stuff that I won't spoil right now, but I think I've definitely been enjoying it. It's been like a really fun, like, it was funny. So yesterday I did that community post where I asked people if they had any questions about what it was like for me to watch Breaking Bad. And I got a lot of really good questions. And I was like, oh man, I like want to respond to all of these, honestly. But then it's like, they are all very different. And I mean, I'm sort of vaguely following a thread when I write this script. So I was like, I don't know. But yesterday I was like, I didn't have anything else on my mind for a few minutes or something. So I was like, okay, let me just go through the community post and like write answers to all the questions. I don't mean like respond to the comments. I mean like use them as prompts and then write like by hand. And I got like 1 or 2 sentences in. I was just like setting up the segment, like not even like doing it yet. And I was like, no, I'm not inspired by this. I was like, I'm going to make this like a separate improvised video. I can't just force myself. What I'm trying to explain is it had immediately, like, it's so interesting how like doing the same thing, writing by hand on a piece of paper, in the fading light of the Saturday afternoon, it's like it just completely went in this, like, I feel like I just assigned myself something. And I immediately had the thought of like, no, this should be like a separate bonus video where I just go through the community post and improvise like my response. This doesn't have to be crafted. I mean, there are a lot of good questions. Don't get me wrong. They are. Some of them like probably will come up in the video and stuff. But it's just interesting how like you can frame your creative work in very different ways. And, that can make it, on the one hand, feel like a really free endeavor where you're like, looking into your passion, or on the other hand, it can make it like, whoa, I just assigned myself a task. And sometimes you do have to assign yourself a task, the editing process, the recording, but like the writing process doesn't necessarily have to be like that. So anyways, I'm not dissing the questions people ask. They're really fucking good. And a lot of them, I was like, oh man, I feel like I'm doing that creator thing where I like get my audience to do the work for me, because a lot of these ideas are extremely good and I wouldn't have thought of them. So I'll give it another look. It might have been my mood also. Some of them might definitely come up in the video, but it's interesting. I might write a little bit more today. I'll see how I feel. But I'm getting kind of talked out. I just took a pee break. I've been drinking so much liquid, like so much water. I even have coffee and I even have orange juice. It's fucking nuts over here, but got to take care of yourself, get those liquids in. I'm going to make a nice brunch when I finish this. Okay. So enough about Breaking Bad. On to the next point I wanted to cover today. I did these demographic surveys of the YouTube population. You might have seen this if you look at YouTube community posts. First one, this was 4 days ago. First one, I asked about people's ages who are subscribed to the channel, and then I asked about people's genders who are subscribed to the channel. I got almost the same number of votes for each. I got 2,500 for each. About 2,500 votes is pretty cool. I mean, that's 2,500 of my subscribers. That's about 10% of my subscribers. Less or more than 10%, actually. More than 10% of my subscribers. But, that's still just a small chunk of the subscribers, and certainly a small chunk of the people who see the videos if they do, if the videos do get pushed in the algorithm like these Better Call Saul ones do. But these are not all not all Better Call Saul Breaking Bad fans. I mean, I certainly have a bunch of viewers of my channel from before the last year. I only had 1,500 subscribers when the channel started taking off with these Better Call Saul videos almost about a year ago. But still, I mean, a lot of people have joined since then who just find like the Willoughby's video or like, I mean, My Little Pony or some shit. I don't know. But yeah, it's cool. I'm gonna do some Breaking Bad stuff, obviously, but I'm gonna move on, and it's gonna be really cool to like see who sticks around. And I'm just so fucking happy to have this YouTube platform. It's so cool. It's like really something I've wanted for a long time, and without knowing that I wanted YouTube specifically, I just want people to look at the shit I make. I'm just like any other artist. I just want people to see it. It's really important. See it, hear it, feel it, touch it, smell it, taste it. I feel like I said too many senses there. So anyways, the results of these, by the way, on the YouTube, if you're a YouTube, wait, I was just going to explain. I was just going to explain like, oh, by the way, this is how you can listen to the podcasts if you want. Like go to the YouTube members page, but you are listening to the podcast. Okay. So first off, for people's ages, the first category was minors, people 17 years and younger. It's a minor in the US. And that was 12%. So I have 12% of my viewers who responded to the survey are kids. And that's like, I don't know what I expected. That's like a good amount. You know, I feel like my stuff is like generally pretty kid friendly. And like, that's very cool that kids would want to watch my video. Like, I don't know. That's just very cool to think like that there are like 16-year-olds or like even like 14-year-olds who are like, I want to watch some boring ass video about Better Call Saul. Like, which videos are they watching? It's very, very interesting. And then 18 to 25-year-olds, 66%. That's 66%. So that's like the young college aged, right out of college, you know, looking for YouTube videos to, you know, give life purpose, that's a huge chunk of so we can assume like, even if I knew everyone on my channel's age, like this would still be the vast majority, we can assume, based on the results. 66% 18 to 25-year-olds. Then 26 to 35-year-olds, which is the group that I'm in, is 16%. So more than 0 to 17-year-olds, and we did have some good laughs about 0-year-olds. So yeah, 26 to 35-year-olds are 16%, so that's 4% more than the kids. And that's cool. I mean, I guess I want it to be more, to be honest. Like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm fine with what it is, and I know this isn't everybody, but yeah, I mean, I guess ideally it would be more older people, because then 36-plus-year-olds is only 3%. And now if you're saying that doesn't add up to 100, that's because the click to see results option is there too. You have to put that so people, if they don't want to vote, they don't just like mess up your results. You know what I mean? Okay, so yeah, only 3% of my viewers are over 36, or 36 or older. Like, that's really fucking small. I don't know the demographics of YouTube in general, but like, that's really small. I would like to get more older people to watch my shit. So if you have any like, you know, older friends or like neighbors or parents or anything, just tell them to check out one of my videos, I guess. No, fine. Let me look up YouTube viewer demographics, actually. Since we're talking about it, you might as well. Okay, here we go. All these weird agencies. Holy shit. Whoa. Hold on, let's see. I don't see the sources. Okay. Google. Myth. The average YouTube user is a young single male. Reality. The average YouTube user is just as likely to be female as male and even more likely to be college educated and have a family than not. Okay. Oh, over 50% of YouTube's audience is female. Okay. We're going to get to my gender demographics on my channel soon. Yeah, just tell me. Why are you not telling me about ages? I mean, they did, but like... It says from 2015 to 2016, time spent on YouTube almost tripled among adults 55 plus. But that's, I just want to know relative to the other groups. Okay, let's try another website. omnicoreagency.com. I don't know. Daily hours. How is it? Oh, here we go. YouTube demographics. And do they have a source for this? They had sources for their other stuff. Let's just read what they say. They say 56% of YouTube users are female. Okay, anyways. Okay. Oh, 95% of 18 to 29-year-olds use YouTube. But that's not what I want to know. I want to know relative to the other... How do they not? Okay. Well, YouTube is used by... It's the second most visited site in the world. And then that just links to alexa.com/top sites. This website is bullshit. I'm sorry. Okay, I just need a... Okay, here we go. I finally found it. uscreen.tv/blog/YouTube-statistics. Wow. Okay, here we go. Okay. They don't give percentages. Oh my God. You gotta be kidding me. Most YouTube users are between ages 25 and 34. Okay. Oh, here they do have, okay, they have a source. datareportal.com/attention. Okay. Okay. Wow, this is going way off track. I don't need to know how many users each country has. Okay, here we go. Fucking finally. How many users does YouTube have in each age group in 2023? Data published in the platform's own tools in January 2023 indicated that marketers could reach the following worldwide audiences using ads on YouTube. 15% of YouTube's total ad audience is 18 to 24. That's 15%, 18 to 24. Wow, interesting. Yeah, so, wow. 20% is 25 to 34. Wow, it's really much more balanced. 16% is 35 to 44. 12% is 45 to 54. 8% is 55 to 64. Oh, shit. Yeah, so my channel skews really young. Okay, interesting. Secondly, let's talk about the genders. So I said, what's your gender? And we got 12% as girls/women. Now that's disappointingly low. I obviously don't want my audience to be so skewed in that way, but it's something that is pretty unavoidable, I think, when you're making Better Call Saul and like video essays. I think that the audience of people of these who watch these shows, especially people who want to watch more content online about it, skews male. I could be wrong. That's just an assumption, but I think it's true. And based on the treatment that Anna got from the, I'm on a first name basis with her, Anna Gunn got from the audience of Breaking Bad, I think it's extremely obvious how male the audience is. Anyways, so 12% girls/women, 59% boys/men, but you'll see it's higher than that. I'll explain in a second. 4% neither, so non-binary or just neither, and then 4% something else. I wanted to obviously make a category. I understand that like gender is a spectrum. Like that's a very easy to grasp scientific concept for me. It's when you know anything about how nature works, it's pretty easy to understand that like even if gender was the same as sex, as biological sex, that would not make it any more fixed or binary. So the fact that gender seems to be something different than biological sex means, well, it's definitely not fixed or binary. You know what I mean? Because even if it was biological sex, if you know anything about how, organisms work, you know that sex is not binary or fixed in nature. It's neither binary nor fixed. So for me, it's very easy to understand that gender would be a spectrum. I'm not going to say I understood it my whole life, but as soon as I had it sort of explained to me or whatever, I don't remember when I started really understanding that actually. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't really remember. It's like I didn't really know a lot of trans people. I didn't really know trans people, or even like significantly gender non-conforming people. I just like didn't happen to in much of high school or college. And then I feel like afterwards at some point I just like learned about gender being a spectrum and was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then I've since learned a lot more about like what that it means and what that entails and the experiences of people who are trans or gender nonconforming. And so I have a much more fleshed out understanding now, but I don't know. I can't really remember learning it. I definitely had more like internalized homophobia as a boy growing up. Like I don't know. I guess there could be internalized transphobia too. We all have our, biases, but that doesn't, I can think of like when I specifically, like when I started like realizing, oh yeah, no, being gay is like totally normal. And I've like had this weird view of it from like growing up in a homophobic society. Like I can remember specifically talking with my cousin and being like, saying something about like, isn't it natural? Like, doesn't nature want organisms to reproduce? So like, wouldn't it be like less natural? And like, not trying to be bigoted, but like trying to be like a debate lord, I guess. And he was like, well, I think people confuse like natural with like a capital N with like good, or he made some point like much better put than that, but it made me realize like, oh yeah, I'm looking at this in an incredibly short-sighted way. And I'm not exaggerating. Like there are so many times in my life where I did not learn a lesson as quick as I should. In this case, I learned it immediately. It was as soon as he just responded and like confronted me about how I was wrong, immediately I thought, yep, no, that makes, actually I can think of many reasons why it would be perfectly natural to be gay. It's actually, by my own logic, there's no reason to think there's evolutionary disadvantage even. If that even was like a factor to weigh heavily. It's just an absurd argument that makes no sense. Because there's so much, people don't have to reproduce themselves to be evolutionarily beneficial. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't really matter at all. And it's just an interesting example of when I was like, oh yeah, no, I totally changed my view about this. And I've never found myself ever like going backwards and regressing in that way. But yeah, as far as gender being a spectrum, I honestly couldn't say. I don't remember like who was the first non-binary person I met or anything like that. I mean, my friends in college, like, were people who, like, it would be normal for men to, like, wear nail polish and, like, a dress if they wanted to and, like, do whatever they want. And, like, I just don't remember, like, talking much about gender. Maybe because I just, like, don't think a ton about my own gender, really. But yeah, I'm always someone to just be for any sort of expression. Anyways, so the reason I said that the 59% of my audience being mask, I guess, is that how you use that sort of word? the reason I said 59% being boys or men was like an understatement is because my last category, I gave people the option, like the sort of see results thing, but I was cute about it. So I was like, stop asking personal questions and write the Breaking Bad video. And that was 21%. So that's more than the girls/women, the non-binary people, and the other gendered people combined. I think it's safe to say those were men, because girls or women would probably, most of them would choose the girl/women category. I actually did get a comment the other day from someone saying, this was a funny comment. I was going to yell to make the BB video, meaning they were going to click the last option. But my demographic was underreported or underrepresented, so I hit the female button, but still get to making the video. I'm going to give that a fave right now. So very funny. And yeah, I have done it. We are making tons of progress writing the video. And it's going to be a lot longer because, like I said, I sort of barely feel like I've cracked the surface. It does feel like there's a lot more to be said. I let me rephrase that. I have a ton more things that I want to say. It's not that it feels like it. I have the notes already. It's just a matter of how I want to arrange them. So the video is going to be extremely in-depth, and it's going to have multiple sections. I don't feel like making separate videos about, like, there are a few different themes that I found really significant. And I don't feel like making them separate videos. I don't like that. That's not my vibe. I don't want to do that. So, okay. We are going to, let me save this thing to go over another time. Now we are going to check the mailbag. We do have a mailbag, an email bag, and that's very cool. I'm very interested in seeing if we get any emails. We want people to write in. So if you are, sorry, I was like copying a link for myself. If you're listening, I keep waiting until the end to mention this. God damn. Well, if you're listening, please feel free to email into the pod at verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear any questions or messages you have. You can suggest things for the podcast. We might not do them. You can just send a message to say hello, or you can ask a question about me or the channel. Oh, we have a message. Wow, first message ever into the mailbag. Wow. Mr. Fahrenheit, thank you so much for beginning us on this journey into the mailbag. Mr. Fahrenheit says, "Hey, this is Mr. Fahrenheit. Would be willing to a guest on more podcasts." Oh, I'm sorry. Nope. I'm reading that correctly. It says, would be willing to a guest. So Mr. Fahrenheit obviously was a guest on the previous episode, along with Simply Snaps and ID96. And we had a great chat about the television program Breaking Bad. Mr. Fahrenheit is a scientist of Breaking Bad, along with myself. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't understand this message. Would be willing to a guest on more podcasts if you need anyone to join. That I don't get it. No, I'm being such a jerk. I'm sorry. No, yeah, Mr. Fahrenheit, definitely. I really appreciate you saying that. And then you add, sorry, forgot to say this. If there's any prompts or other info I should be aware of, let me know. Yeah, that's a good point. I should give prompts. But we were talking about prompts for like discussions too, specifically, because that would be really fun to, like, if I can message people and be like, okay, we're going to talk about, this. But yeah, I just wanted to do a solo pod this week, kind of like, just go back to the verbal journal roots a little bit. But we are definitely going to do lots more discussions, and I appreciate the offer, Mr. Fahrenheit. You will definitely be involved. We had a great chat the other day last week. We'll come up with some prompts or something like that. We'll figure something out. Okay, so I think I'll call it for today. Everybody have a really fantastic rest of your time today. This will be fun. Yeah, because my phone gives me my weekly screen report on Sundays, a screen time report. I thought that would be funny to like make that a part of the podcast where I talk about it. So my weekly report this past week, I used my phone for 31 minutes a day on average. Now, that's a really good amount of like low screen time, but I'm on the computer for like hours a day. And there's 31 minutes on my phone a day, 10 minutes less than last week's daily average. Big day was Friday, over an hour on my phone. What, was I watching a video or something? Yeah, I think I was actually. Yeah, I was watching like a, what was it? It's like a FD signifier video or something. I think I was watching something in the background while I was like doing something. I don't know. Anyways, then my messages app I used for 48 minutes this past week. YouTube I used for 51 minutes. WhatsApp for 29 minutes. That was just on the phone though. That's not screen time. This thing doesn't understand. I was just on the phone on WhatsApp. I wasn't even looking at it. Okay. We will call it for today. This is a really fantastic time. I hope you all enjoyed listening to this. We'll be back next week for some more delightful verbal journaling. All right. Bye-bye. This is a podcast or something like that.